short sale. It's you can't beat that. But other than that, I got to watch the Panthers lose. I wish I got to see the
Nothing new.
Eagles lose. I don't care anybody who argues with me on that one. And I refuse to root for the Eagles. And I don't like rooting for the Cowboys, but I absolutely refuse to root for the Eagles.
I hear you.
So there you go. But it wasn't any weekend with football is a good weekend. Am I right? Thank you, Jenna.
I agree with you,
Thank you,
Joe.
Jamie.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. How about you, T? How about you? How was your weekend?
We had a pretty good weekend. Started out with showings early on Saturday. Um, and then I guess we did something in between and then we went to the party and then that was pretty good. And then we had a big football party here yesterday.
Nice.
The Niners won, and it's a good start to the season. And so I have five showings booked for next weekend with an investor, and today or this week, I have to trade in my truck and get a new one. And so,
Shit, that sucks.
yeah, bummer.
I know it's a terrible thing. I need a new vehicle. Damn, I do hate vehicle shopping now. That's
It was a
terrible.
very good ending to the month, so we're
Good for
looking
you.
good right now.
Good for you. Nice. T, how about you, T? How was your weekend?
You waited till I had to blow my nose, didn't you?
I know. I was watching. I was just waiting for that moment.
Yeah. Weekend's great. Had my girls, we spent some quality time together, swam pretty much all weekend. Busy week this week. I got 5 closings. I did
Nice.
have I have 2 listings where people backed out of, buyers backed out. I have a land listing in 124 Tasha Street in Sneed's Ferry. The seller is actually working on getting a perk test done now, or the septic permit. Perk's already good. And then 106 Moss Creek in Jacksonville, buyers got cold feet. The house is priced very well, and the sellers are getting ready to do a paint allowance on it as well, if anyone's looking, but I'm getting ready to update that one. But overall, everything's good. Good in the hood.
Well, I don't know if everybody watches the numbers or watches the hot sheet, but our inventory is down from last month. So, I mean, it's down quite a bit, which is really good news. That means, our market's picked up. I know it's been a little bit busier this past month, and that's always good for everybody. But for Onslow County, we've got a total of 1,672 homes on the market between active and pending. And last month, about, let me see, last month, about the same time, we had about 1,747 homes on the market. So, we're down about 75 homes total on the market, which means the market's picked up. So that's really, really good. How about you, Jenny? How was your weekend? Anything fun?
Yes, I got to take my daughter and one of her best friends to Raleigh to the Performing Arts Center to see a Broadway Beauty and the Beast musical, which was super cool. It was her friend's first musical, so she was extremely excited. That was lots of fun. We just had a whole girls' day. And then our 18-year-old bought himself a motorcycle.
Oh no.
So now we're a whole CF Moto family. I have a 300, our son has a 450, and my husband has a 675. And we went on our first we are a Marshburn motorcycle gang family ride yesterday, which was a lot of fun. So super
Wow.
cool.
You got your own little gang.
Our own little gang.
Good for you. Good for you. That's cool. That's a good
It was a
weekend.
lot of fun.
That's a really
He's
good
a
weekend.
very good, responsible kid. Like he's very smart and responsible and kind of always has been. So it makes me not so scared.
It's not about him though. It's about everybody else on the road. That's what I get scared when I ride.
Yeah,
It's just there's so many idiots out there on the road. You got to just be hyper alert. It's nuts.
all the time.
Yeah.
Part of the
Uh,
thrill of it, I suppose, having to be hyper alert every minute.
it is. Yeah. That's why I'm never on my phone. I don't. I don't get a headset. I don't want none of that shit. I'm just enjoying the ride. Yeah. I'm not going to call on anybody with their cameras off. So if anybody has anything they'd like to add in or like to say, How about their weekend? Please do so. Otherwise, we can dive right in. Anybody? All right. Well, cool. I got a lot of stuff to cover today. We're going to talk about plat maps and surveys, how to read them, what the differences are, things to look for, all that good stuff. I think we did this last year around this time, and I thought it was a good time to do it again. So if you've been through it before, cool. I've got some other things I'm going to add in. If you haven't, well, then buckle up because we got a lot to go through. I'm going to share my screen and get this rolling. Let me see this one. All right, I think, yeah. So I'll see this, right? Y'all see my screen? See the plat map? Somebody thumbs up. Jenny, you good? I see you shaking your head. Everybody good? Okay. So first thing we're going to talk about is plat maps. This is a basic plat map. And if y'all throw anything in the chat, I'm going to try to watch that too, but just let you know, I've got a couple screens and I'm trying to look at everything. So when you pull a plat map up, what a plat map is it's just a map of the overall community, meaning, a section of the community. Sometimes it's the whole community. This happens to be one that's over in Onslow Bay. And this is just one section of Onslow Bay called Everett Place. You can see all the different roads, all the different lots. It's just a plot of this section or of all these different lots and how they're laid out. If you look at it, you'll see these numbers are the lot numbers here. And then real small, you'll see these are the address number. This is the address for each one of these lots. So if you ever, you're looking at a plat map and you see these lot numbers and you're trying to figure out what address it is, obviously this is like Gillikin Court. This is 202 Gillikin, 204, 206. And some of the other things on a plat map that you look for are these setbacks. It tells you this is a 25-foot master build line. That's what MBL is, master build line, which means you can't build anything between here and the road. It has to be 25 foot back. On this side, it's 20 foot back. You'll even see that it has some dimensions, like this lot is 160 feet deep. It tells us here there's a 15-foot easement through here, utility easement. Right? Now, I'm not going to spend all day reading every little bit of this, but I'm going to point out some of the highlights. You see this area. All right, this area here is called a wetlands. And the way you know that is if you look up here, it has the legend and it tells you wetlands area. Let me mark this up a little bit. You see here it has wetlands area. And it helps you if you're trying to look at any of this. What it means is always refer back to this. Here, master build line, map book. Lots of cool things on these plat maps. You can go down a rabbit hole. Now, what a lot of folks don't pay attention to when they look at plat maps are all the details. And what I mean by details is like this. So this section here gives a lot of the different things going on in this community. Like this is a certificate up here in the top left of the utilities, and that's going to be put in. This is a certificate for the road, approval of it being recorded. Main thing I'm looking for here is what's called the road maintenance agreement, right? If you ever have a property that is not on a state maintained road, one of the places you can find the road maintenance agreement is here in the plat map. A lot of times it's referenced here. This one is also referenced. I have it on another copy. No, it's in here. Street disclosure statement right there. All streets, let me zoom that in so y'all can read that. All streets herein have been offered to the state for dedication to public use, but have not been accepted by the state of this date. The developer shall immediately petition the North Carolina Department of Transportation to accept the streets upon construction of the streets and the satisfaction of Department of Residential requirements. The developer shall be responsible for maintenance of all streets and protection of all rights of way until said streets are accepted in the state road systems. So this statement right here is what is needed for financing, because a lot of financing requires a road to have state maintained. to be state maintained, right? Everybody see that? Anybody ever get in a situation where the lender calls for a road maintenance agreement? Have you ever seen that? A lot of times it's here. It can be in the covenants, but look, instead of reading through all the covenants trying to find it, go to the plat map, pull it up, and read these statements. It's going to save you a lot of time. Majority of the time, it is here. Some other things that you're looking for, like this tells me 404 wetland caution, which we know that. That's what all this mark is. It's all wetlands. So you want to read this plat map and find out any hazards that could be an issue to the buyer. If you see this, this is all stormwater drain. That's what this is. All along over here. So if we take this plat map, then we're going to focus on a specific property. This is some other things to look at on the plat map as far as this is a street disclosure. This is a disclosure about wetlands over here. Another disclosure about wetlands. You start seeing all this, you're going to really want to pay attention to the plat to make sure that the property, we're going to say this is the property that we're looking at, that this property doesn't have any wetlands, because if it does, we need to make sure the buyer knows that. If a buyer was buying one of these lots over here, or this lot here, and they plan to develop all this and put a shed or something back there, that was their goal, you need to make sure they understand that they may run into some obstacles by trying to do that. Does that make sense? Nora, can you see that better? Is that better now? Cool. All right. So we're going to focus on this property real quick. And if we look, this is another plot plan. So when people are asking for surveys, don't mistake a preliminary plot plan for a survey. Yes, this was surveyed to show the corners of the property when the home was built. But this is not where the house was placed when it was built. So after the house is placed on the property, I'll show you what that looks like when we get there.
I'll call you back.
Somebody, I need to make sure I can mute somebody real quick. So you want to make sure that after the house is built, if you want to know exactly where it's located, to have a survey done. We'll get into those in just a minute. But this specific plot plan, again, it says plot plan, so I know it's not a survey. A survey shows exactly where everything is on a property. A plot plan is just what they think, where they are planning for everything to be placed. So if I look at this plot plan and I see these lines, these are setback lines, right? 20-foot master build line. In other words, I can't build before this line. If I look up here, let me zoom in some more, that says 10-foot public drainage. That's what this line is. This is a 10-foot public drainage. There's a 10-foot easement here from the road to the house. 30 foot, that's how far the house has to be from the edge of the road, from the edge of the survey line. Now, your survey line may not always be right at the edge of the paved road. Sometimes it is, most of the time it's not. And then over here, you can see this tells me the water meter, where the water meter's at. Y'all see that down here in the bottom corner over here? Let me, right here. Tells me the water meter, where it goes in. Also the power, where it's coming in. Learn a lot on a plot plan, right? In a survey. See a lot of different information on this. Even gives me the dimensions of the house, how long the lot is. Lots of good information. Any questions about this? How about your plot plan? Anything anybody want to add? Y'all going to be really easy on me. I'm going to show you one other thing. So on the top of this, you'll see it has BUA, max BUA. You see this over here in the top corner? It says max BUA is 5,500 heated square feet, 5,500 square feet. Proposed BUA is 4628. So BUA is built upon area. What that means is that's how much concrete or how much space can be occupied on this lot. When people build on a lot, with the way the county municipalities look at things is they want to make sure that the water's draining off that lot, so we don't have a flood issue where water's being retained or running off to somebody else's property. They want to make sure it's being absorbed correctly. If it's not, then you have to have things like retention ponds that you see in commercial properties, things like that. So they have limits of how much you can build like concrete on a property. So when you see BUA, and I have 5,500 square feet of BUA, but it's telling me my building's only 4628, I still got about 900 square feet of built upon area that I can still be able to use. So if I wanted to build another building back here and pour a concrete pad, I could do that as long as it didn't exceed what I had left. So when it goes to the county for permitting to be able to pour that concrete, they're going to look at that. Does that make sense? This is also like if you're trying to build a new construction home and you're trying to put a big house on a small lot, these are things that builders look at to make sure that the house will fit there, because there are regulations on how big of a footprint a house can be on a lot. And it's all different in different communities. It's not something that's standard. Question was explain BUA versus impervious. BUA is basically how much of an area that is built upon on that lot. Impervious is more of the type of surface. So impervious is like concrete, basically core concrete surface is impervious. A lot of times pavers aren't considered that because usually grass and things like that in between it. If you have to put some sort of a foundation down, like you're going to dig it out, you're going to compact it, you're going to put pavers, they may consider that impervious surface just because water's not going to be able to seep through that as easy as it can regular ground level. Does that make sense? I think Nora asked that question. You good, Nora? Okay. Any questions on this plot plan before we start getting into surveys and all the different types of surveys? Everybody good? You're all awful quiet. This is another plot plan. And you can see we've got a lot going on over here, right? Look at all this honeycomb look. This you can see on our legend. This is a 100-year flood plan. You can see it has wetlands, and then it has other things in the legend for us to know what's going on, non-encroach zone, that kind of stuff. What else do we see on here? We see this thing that says well site and this big circle, which means there's some sort of a well in there somewhere, or there's going to be a well put in. Some other interesting facts. If you look at this, when this was built, they put this traffic circle in around these lots. And it has on this that if reverts to property owner of this lot, if the street is extended, which means that would change the property lines. Pretty interesting to know that, right? So anytime you come into a community and you see these little traffic circles like here, unless there is a house like you see in this top left on lot 15 where I'm pointing up here, if there is no house here and there is still a circle, well, I can't draw a circle, but you see what I mean here, this circle, don't just assume that they're not going to build back there. You know, you need to look at the plot plan to see what's going on. If it's a big piece of property, you know, it tells us here who owns that piece of property. Just doesn't mean that it's never going to be developed. Especially when I see this, it's probably going to be developed at some point in time. Does that make sense? Cool. Everybody good? You're all way too easy today. So just wanted to show you that if you can't find the road maintenance on that, on a plat plan, this is kind of what a road maintenance agreement looks like. You can simply go into the Register of Deeds and type in road maintenance, and a lot of times they will come up. You can even type in covenants and deeds, and it'll come up. But normally you won't type covenants, you'll type in the community. Like I would type in Bradham Place, and it will come up with covenants, road maintenance, things like that. Just like you would look for an owner. Instead of putting in the last name, put in the name of the community, and it'll pull all that up. That's a whole different class. We're not getting into that today on doing deed searches and things like that. So this is a basic survey, okay? Tells me Griswold Road. It's a survey. Over here, you can see David Weston did it, land surveying. They did it for these homeowners on the left. Let me get it to where I can mark it up. Over on this side. And this tells me a lot. So this tells me, here's the concrete. I'll zoom it in a little bit. Obviously, these dark lines are the property lines all along here. Tells me where the water meter is. Cable pedestal, electric box, telephone pedestal, identifies the concrete, the dimensions of the house, chimney, how far the house is from the property line, 20 foot, that's cool, 20 foot in the front. There we have our master build line again, right? 25 feet, shows us that it's within that. That's good. It's actually 31 feet from the road, 31.9 is where the front of the garage is. Even plots where the septic tank is, which is very cool if they plan on putting in a pool. Because if it was out here and they wanted to put a shed or something, it could be an issue. But again, you could have a copy of the septic permit that would show that, but a survey is going to identify that specifically. And then it tells me we have a 6-foot wood fence around the property. You can see these are the posts. Unless I'm seeing that's the property lines, but they've noted that. This tells me that the fence to the right is not this owner's. It's this owner's because it says a joiner's 6-foot wood fence. There's no encroachments. We're going to look at what an encroachment looks like, but you can see how it shows us the fence line all the way down. So we know it's right on the property line because it's right over that line, right? It's all good news. This is the road over here. And then we have our references like we talked about before. Everybody good with reading the survey? Let's look at one with, let's look at this one. Here's another one. This one shows flood zone. You can see that it has the approximate flood zone area, 1% chance in the back corner, and where that line is in the yard. Now, if the flood zone was up here, they would probably be required to have flood insurance. And then the homeowner would be, or the person buying the property would need to provide what's called an elevation certificate to the insurance company so they could determine how much flood insurance they would need. Flood insurance is determined by the elevation of the house. A surveyor is the one that provides that elevation certificate. So just because the back corner of the property is in a flood zone does not mean that the homeowner is going to be required to have flood insurance. If the flood
Elevation certificates are no longer needed to get insurance.
if the flood zone or floodplain comes to the house, they may be required to have flood insurance. Again, if they do, if they are required to have flood insurance, then they may be required to have an elevation certificate. This is all going to be driven by the mortgage company may ask for it, the insurance company may ask for it, but that's who gets it. That's who provides it. We're not going to get into insurance and elevation certificates today and how to read those, but I'm just explaining to you who provides those, which is the surveyor. The surveyor provides an elevation certificate. So if you ever need one, that's who provides the elevation certificate. This tells me that it has a 15-foot D and U and E. Anybody understand what that is? Anybody know what D and U and E is? Nobody?
No.
Drainage and utility easement.
Drainage.
Okay, that's what DUNE is. And if we look down here, drainage and utility easement. See, I cheated. I hid it from y'all so you couldn't see it. Yeah. But it also, the survey, again, it shows us the concrete. It shows us the specific dimensions. So if you ever pull one of these up and it doesn't show you exactly where the house is placed on the property, it is a plot map. It is not a survey. Okay? Make sure that you can see all that. Questions about this one? These are pretty easy ones. All right, let's look at this one. This is a crazy one. Look at that. This is the driveway, if you can see it. I'm going to zoom it in a minute. But if you look, the driveway is all surveyed into this person. This is a whole driveway going all the way back to the house, all the way back here. Here's the house. So there's somebody else's house here on this lot 30. There's another house up here in 28. There's another house here. The good thing is for this person back here, this road is actually deeded to them. That's awesome. Now, if it wasn't deeded, it would be an easement that would be deeded for them to have access to the property. But I like to have, for me, that's good because I own that property and I'm just weird like that. But you need to make sure the owner understands that. If this wasn't surveyed to where it was all the way back and the property line was here, there would have to be an easement for them to access it. Easements are usually 30 foot, and an easement basically just gives that person legal right of way to get to their property and back. That is required for financing also. Can't be landlocked, can't be put in a corner where there's nothing, where you can't access it. Now, if we look at this tells me we're probably in a flood zone over here. It shows, let me erase some of this stuff. There we go. Shows the electric box, wood fence, shows a chain link fence, even gives me my wood deck, where it's located at, 1-story vinyl siding house, septic tank. There's a wood ramp to a wood building and a shelter. Chain link fence isn't all the way to the property line. That's all good. I don't see any encroachments on any of this though, right? I'm looking down the property lines and I'm looking at these. Because if there's an encroachment, they'll have it noted there. We're going to look at some in just a minute. This is kind of interesting. Look at the driveway. It kind of cuts this corner off onto these properties. And it says right here, soil and gravel drive in use by owner of lot 30, which is this person. Looks like they have another drive that comes over beside it, but it all joins into that lot or into that same road from looks of that. Water meters all the way out here. A tie line. When you see tie line on a survey, does anybody know what a tie line is? It's not to tie a boat. What a tie line is it ties in, it's a reference point that the surveyor uses in order to get this first corner of this property to be able to survey out the rest of it. It's a line, it's a point to where they can tie in the rest of the property lines. Make sense? Pretty easy, right? I'm trying to help you understand some of the terminology. So when you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, okay. But remember, a lot of this stuff is listed out here in the legend, but like tie isn't. So I just want some of this terminology I'm trying to help you understand. Here it tells us wetlands and where it's pulled from in order to get this also. And it also tells me here wetlands. Pretty cool. Let's look at another one. Anybody do ever sales in North Shore? Jenna, I'm sure you have. Here's one from North Shore. This one's pretty interesting. Lots going on in this one too. Let me zoom it in. Get my little pen going. First of all, this tells me that it's subject to restrictive covenants. A lot of times it'll have those on the in the survey, and sometimes it'll even have the plat book and page. Makes it easier for you. It also tells me my setbacks, where and the reference for those are. If there's any types of easements, a lot of times they'll be referenced here in the notes as well. So we'll start from the front. This is the front. This is North Shore Drive here. Okay, that's our utility cover. We're coming up. We see here, this is the adjoiner's concrete utility pad. It's right there. But then it says portion of adjoiner's rock is located upon our lot 8 by 2 foot. You see how they made the rock come across here? That means that they have this little concrete pad, utility pad, but their rock goes onto this property. Something you're going to want the homeowner to know. I've seen neighbors yell about an inch when the fence is an inch over the property, right? So you need to make sure that if you see something like this, whether it's the neighbors coming onto the property your buyers is getting, or it's something your buyer's property goes over to the neighbors, you need to make sure they know that. Here it says the joiner's aluminum 4-foot fence. It's right on the property line. No issues there. Tells me my enclosed patio, cement stone. Pretty cool. On the back, we have sewer cleanout because at the back side is our drainage and utility easement. That's where our sewer goes to, is to the back section of the lot, not the front. Good to know. Some homeowners really want to know all that stuff. On the left side, there's a concrete HVAC utility pad. We're good there. Another 3x4 or 3x3 concrete pad. Then back to our front. So we don't really have a lot of encroachments on this one besides this little section right here, right? That one's pretty good, but again, it gives us all our dimensions, how far everything is off the property lines. Looks like the back corner is 5.1 feet. No setbacks on the side, is it? Really close. Let's look at this one. Here's another one. No, this shows us overhead electric. There's a 30-foot access easement along here because of the overhead electric. That's an overhead utility easement all along the side of the property. Again, has the building, how far off the property line it is, cable pedestal. This shows the joiner's wooden fence. So we know it's not on our property. That's great. Don't really see anything else besides the back. There's a 20-foot easement access. So we want to make sure that we let the homeowners know about all that stuff because they may have plans to do something in the back corner of the property. They need to know that. If they put something in that easement like a fence, if they wanted to fence all this in, that's fine. They can do it. Just know that if anybody needs access to that easement, they can take that fence down to get access through there. Same with along here in a power line. Put a fence all the way up to this property line, and the utility company needs to come through and repair those lines. They could take that fence down. They don't have to put it back because you put it in the easement. Let's look at another one. This will probably be the last one because this one has a ton going on. Let me get my little pen going. So this is Walnut Drive. I'm going to spin this. Sorry for you that I just made you seasick. So this is Walnut Drive. This is the front of the house, or this is the main road. Front of the house. We'll start from this corner and we'll work our way around. There's our water meter. Has a 30-foot master build line. That's what this is. House is well past it. There's our concrete drive. There's a wood fence here. But look at this. The wood fence comes off the house and the fence are located upon adjoining property by 5.4 feet. Think that's a problem? It's a big problem. Here there's a 4-foot chain link fence. There's a portion of 4-foot chain link fence located on this other property. So we're not only encroaching on this property, we're encroaching on this property too. There's a lot going on here, isn't there? And then we take the chain link fence back. There's our metal storage building. But where's our metal storage building? What is this? Right here. That is a 10-foot drainage and utility easement that building is right in the middle of. Not it's a big deal right now, but if they ever have to dig that up, that building's got to move. It's got to go. You know, one of the main things when you see this, I wish I had the survey for the property in town, but there's a property in town that this right here is how the drainage and utility easement went when they had a survey done. Right through the house. It's inside the city limits. So the only way that came up was when they had a survey done. What do you think that kind of problems that causes for that house?
Well, that's a material fact.
Material fact, do you think it can be financed now?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. So getting a survey done for every property, I don't care how long it's been there, unless you can see all that kind of stuff, you need to have one done. So we're not done with encroachments. If we look over here, it has a joiner 6-foot wood fence. That's good. Portion of our 4-foot chain link fence is located on theirs on this side. That's another encroachment. Now we got 3 properties we're encroached on. And if we come down, it comes back to the property, master build line, back to the front. There's a fire hydrant up here. That'll be great for insurance. It helps with insurance rates with a fire hydrant right there. A little bit, but every little bit helps. And again, has subject to restrictive covenants, maps, deeds. So let's say we have a survey done on this property and we are under contract and we represent the buyer and we see all these encroachments. What's our next step? What do we do?
Disclose, and probably run.
This is years ago. I represented this buyer and we found this. And, you know, we need to explain to the buyer, here's your options. Your options are we go to the seller and we tell them, you need to fix all this. We have all these encroachments. Here, 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 here. You either need to remove all this or you need to get permission in writing from every one of these homeowners that they don't care about it. And I want it in writing and recorded. Now, let's say that we have it and the seller says, you know what? No, I'm not doing nothing. Y'all need to worry about it. Okay. Well, that does fall in conveyance of clean title because obviously we can't get a clean title if we have encroachments or issues with the land, which is a violation of the contract, right? They're in violation. They can't perform the contract terms because we can't convey a clean title.
Isn't that breach of contract?
Yes. Yeah. So technically, you know, the buyers could back out and get a refund, get all their money refunded because we can't convey a clean title. Now, if the let's say we have let me shift gears. So I have a survey done like this one, and there are no encroachments or anything like that, or even if there are, like this one. So I have all this survey done, and at closing, it's obviously recorded at the courthouse. What do you get at closing that helps protect your ownership rights in the property? Does anybody know? There's this
Title insurance.
That's right. There's this thing at closing you get called title insurance. And what title insurance does is it protects your ownership rights in the property, which means nobody can come and say, hey, my ex sold that property. I didn't sign anything. Y'all need to move out. I'm moving in next week. That's what title insurance basically does for your people whenever they buy a property. If you have a survey done like this, what it'll do is it's also now the property lines, all your property lines are protected under that title insurance. So let's say that this is all within the property lines, like this right here, okay? And let's say this homeowner, and we'll just ignore all these other encroachments, but let's just use this for an example for instructional purposes, this back section. And let's say that this homeowner back here, after we close, comes to my homeowner here and says, hey, this fence of yours, it's on my property. You need to move it. And my homeowner here says, look, I got a survey that shows it's on my property. This guy over here says, I don't care. You need to move it. It's on my property. I'm going to sue you. Cool. Take me to court. Well, this homeowner gets pissed and he decides to start digging holes here to make this fence come down, or even starts to try to remove the fence. You call your title insurance company and they fight that for you. I had that happen several years ago. I had some folks buy a property, and the whole back side of the fence, the neighbor over here said, hey, your fence is on my property. And they said, no, it's not. We have a survey. They dug holes along the whole back of this. Homeowners called the title insurance company. They said, nope, you're right. We will fight it. They did some research to this homeowner, and they found that the last two places he lived at, he tried to file the same claims and do the same shit to his other neighbors. So he was like a habitual offender of trying to claim other people's properties. But if we didn't have the survey, and it wouldn't have been included in the title insurance, which means the homeowner then would have had to seek legal action against that person, which would have cost them a lot more money. Does that make sense? So you can see why getting a survey done before you close to identify where the property lines are, easements are, the fences on the property, why it's so important. Because if we don't have that done, we're not protecting our homeowner or our buyers. Make sense? Questions? Questions about surveys?
Al, I have a question.
Sure.
So you were saying one of the options is to get permission from these other owners to keep the fence like it is.
Yeah.
Well, let's say they give you permission, but then they sell their properties. Don't you have to continuously get permission?
No. So if I get permission from them, then I'm going to go back to the surveyor and I'm going to ask them to do, and thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to ask the surveyor to record an easement for this fence and have all these owners sign it, so that I don't have to worry about it, because now it's recorded as an easement and everybody is good with it. That's how you protect your buyers. Thank you for bringing that up to clear that up. Because all I would do is say, okay, Mr. Surveyor, look, we know we have these encroachments. All these homeowners have agreed to allowing us to have our fence. They've agreed to sign an easement. Can you reflect that on the survey? And we'll have them all sign the document so it's recorded here, and your attorney can help with that. They will be the ones that do that along with the surveyor. And then you'll just get all these homeowners to sign it, and then you're good. And then it doesn't matter if they sell or not, because it's already recorded part of the plat. Make sense? Does that answer your question, Kelly? Cool. Who else has questions? Nobody? What? Come on now.
First of all, if I saw a survey like this, I would just run.
Really?
Who wants to deal with all that crap?
My buyers did. They went ahead and moved forward with it. They figured they'd roll the dice. If they had an issue with it, they would just move the fence themselves. They didn't care. But I disclosed, and I had them sign the survey, and they knew it. So, make sure the attorney had them sign the survey so they seen it. I sent them an email explaining it all. They were good with it, so we rolled. Ultimately, your buyers and your sellers are the ones that have the decision of what you do. If this was my listing and this came up and my homeowner did not want to do any of these changes, they did not want to, put all has these homeowners to move the fence, well, it's now a material fact. I'm going to have to make sure I disclose that moving forward for the next buyer. So that can also cause a lot of problems. If you're on a listing side, you need to make sure you educate your homeowner that, we got to disclose all this stuff, because we got to fix it. We got to have a conversation with these people, or if we go back in the market, they terminate, we have to disclose it, which is going to, make a buyer not want to buy the house. The bad thing is we have all these encroachments, and the homeowner goes and he asks the neighbors to move it. And let's say the neighbor's fence was on our property, and we go next door and ask him to move it. We're pissing the neighbor off and we're not even moved in yet. So what I mean by that is, let's do another scenario of, let's say that this neighbor's fence, or actually, let's go back to this one, this North Shore. Let's say we go to this neighbor on this one and we say, hey, your rock is on our property. You need to move it. We're buying this property. You need to move your rock. Do you think this guy's, wait a minute, let me share. Sorry, my screen's not shared. There we go. So we come back to this survey, right? And we see this here, and we tell the homeowner, we want this fixed. We want these folks to get rid of this rock and get it off our property. So the homeowner approaches this homeowner over here. The seller approaches this homeowner on this side and says, hey, you need to move your rock. It's on our property. Do you think this is going to be a happy homeowner on this side? So when the buyers move in, they've already made a friend over there, haven't they? Because they already pissed the neighbor off because they had to move stuff to make the buyer happy for them to buy the house. And the seller's the one that made them do it, but the buyer's the one that told the seller to make them do it. So they're already coming into this house with an upset neighbor over, 2 foot of rock along the edge. Does that make sense? Again, these are all just conversations you have with your folks. And if that's what they want to do, then that's fine. So the question is, what's the timeline of having the survey done prior to closing to include it in the title insurance? I'm assuming after so long the survey becomes too old. So as long as survey is done before closing, they'll record it and title insurance will be included. This is good as long as there's no changes, because it's not like the property lines are going to move or the house is going to move. But, if we go back to the plat map of this property, right? Again, this isn't an as-built. So if they put a fence like this, right? Well, we don't know that unless we have a survey done. So once I make changes to this plat, meaning add a survey or something to this property, I'm not add a survey, but if I add a fence to it, well, it doesn't protect that fence because it wasn't done when that survey was done. Does that make sense, Danielle? So as long as there's been no really major changes to like impervious surface, pads poured, fences put in, if there's been a shed put on the property, as long as it's within the property lines, the shed's not covered under title insurance. It's just whether it's on the property lines or not. But as long as nothing's been changed, the title company will insure everything that's here now. Anything that's added later, it's not covered. And that stays with the life of the owner. Doesn't have to be renewed. And yeah, Ellen, utility pad may have an AC unit on it. Very, very good. Very, very well could be. Or generator or something like that. All right, any questions? Anybody have anything else? Anybody get anything out of today? Did you learn something today? See head shaking? Good. Good. Let me stop sharing this. All right. Well, if nobody has questions, that's all I got for today. Appreciate y'all coming. Thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks, Al. Have a great week.
You too.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I don't think there was room for any questions. You covered everything.
Yeah, I like it better when there are questions, like Kelly asked, because I know I missed some little things like that, but it helps fill in those holes. So thank you, Kelly. All right, have a good week.
Thanks so much. You guys have a good one.